Hey, I think this is important. I had some feedback directed at us, but written to me.
Okay, so I was going to say it wasn't just a critique of you, but it was given to you.
Because regular listeners will know that Lee are adverse to feedback.
I'm coming around to it, so go on.
Are you?
No, give me both barrels.
Both barrels. So this is from someone called David Corbett. He'll say what's on his mind. So here's the feedback. Finally caught up on midlifing and found time to write something to the subject. Episode 35. For the first 16 or so minutes, I thought it was the episode where you finally jumped the shark.
Oh my gosh!
Jumped the shark.
To people who don't know that reference, that's an episode from Happy Days, which famously had the Fonz in it, where he was water skiing, and in the episode he jumped over a shark on water skis. And this has become a shorthand in television for shows that outstay their welcome, where their central conceit becomes so attenuated to the point of snapping. And I think, if my memory serves, he may have even been wearing his leather jacket while he was water skiing. But that just might be what I want him to be wearing. So we are accused of Henry Winklering it up.
That we'd finally jumped to the shark. I like the idea that he's waiting for the moment. But then also the thing is, it's a lack of specificity in the feedback here. You somehow turned it around. So I don't know, wasn't precise about... Because that would have been useful feedback, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, unless he expects us to listen, which maybe we should listen back at the 16 minutes point and see what we did.
How is it that we went back from, pulled back from jumping the shark? I love that you know that reference. I was vaguely familiar, but actually David had to explain it to me to remind me of it. But of course you know.
This is a podcast in which two friends have serious conversations about silly things and silly conversations about serious things.
I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller.
Welcome to Midlifing. Is this the week in which we're going to jump the shark?
I think it touches, that feedback, thank you, Corbetron, touches upon a conversation we had over the last week, which was, what exactly are we doing here? So last week, we had our euthanasia conversation. And this week, we're having our existential crisis. Simon?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Oh. So, oh man, there's some... I'm going to treat this I'm going to treat this seriously. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely, because I think at least 12% of me is serious.
So I'm going to respond. You can take the piss if you want. There's something about the possibility that two people who have been friends and are friends, playfully and seriously grappling with things that are going on, both in the world and in their lives, something about that has value to other people, that it can't solely be just for you and me, because why would we record these conversations? But what is that thing of value?
Yeah. And I think this is where perhaps I veer wildly off my usual track and say, I wonder if listeners have something that they could offer back to us here. We're about a year into this process now, and then that doesn't mean we've been doing this for a year. But we started...
Yeah, this is episode 30, what is it, 37?
Yes.
So that gives you 15 weeks shy of a year.
There's a couple of infamous recordings that predate that, where we tried things out and didn't share them. The oft-mentioned, never fully discussed cancel culture episode.
Which I haven't listened back to.
No, nor have I. But that exists in our files.
It does.
And I think, didn't we do one before then that was that we didn't have the right microphones for as well?
Yes, it was just like a little test.
Yeah,
we laughed a lot in that.
Yeah. We did.
More than
usual.
you still hearing us.
And And also, I think before then there was probably a month or so of discussion and, working ourselves around to it. So I think this has been a project that's been alive for nearly a year, or about a year now.
I reckon that's about right.
Yeah. And I think I find myself not thinking, have we jumped the shark? Although I think it's a fair question to ask.
It's always the danger. There's always a risk there, isn't there?
I suppose it's when we get those listeners that arrive in a. Oh, I'm stumbling because I'm coming towards the edge of my no feedback clause. Because I think maybe I want feedback. Maybe I want people to talk to us about what it is that this does for them. And also, we've said before that this is our secret. It's between us and our unfaithful listeners, and we don't want people to share it. But also, I think recently, and this comes to the serious bit of what is this for, Simon? I think I do want more people to listen to it. And I don't know if it comes from a place of ambition and wanting to make lawyer money out of our podcast. Simon will put a link in the description, which will allow you to understand why I just said lawyer money. But instead, I think I want to begin to have conversations.
And so how is that not ambition, or how is it different from ambition, or is it not?
Oh, I don't think it is different from ambition. I suppose I'm just doing that terribly British thing where I pretend that ambition is dirty.
Yeah.
And really...
And it's not, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. But I think there is the sense that saying you want to be successful, or saying that you want this to reach... I wonder if it's also to do with the fact that this week we crossed the 3,000 download threshold, which to me is a phenomenal number of downloads for our podcast. I could not have imagined that anybody, when we started this conversation a year ago, I could not have imagined that anybody would want to listen to it. Certainly, I couldn't imagine that we would end up with a group of unfaithful listeners.
Thank you.
Yeah, huge thank yous. But so when I see a number like 3,000, I think that is just such a lot of attention. And by attention, I don't mean I'm the centre of attention. I mean as in
people
thoughtfulness,
paying attention,
exactly, and consideration. Yeah, and I just think, wow, that is such an honour. And then the other bit of my brain goes, yeah, but some people get that on one episode.
You want a piece. You want a piece of that pie.
Maybe. But then I wonder why.
So are you suggesting that you want to get better, or is it that you just think you're good enough as you are, and just more people should hear how good you are?
No, I think that over the last year we've become more. We found a bit of a groove, and sometimes we bump ourselves out of that groove, and I think it's interesting when that happens as well. But I do want to get better, and I do want to. Yeah, I want.
So what? Sorry, I interrupted.
Go ahead.
What's in it? What's in it for you? And what's in it? Well, what's in it for us? What's in it for you? Like, why would you want to have more people? I'm not disagreeing or suggesting that I don't, but I'm not sure I could answer this question if it were asked of me. Because I think when you say it's a lot of attention, meaning a lot of people have spent a lot of time listening to this. So there's something going on in the sense that there is something that's enough for people to keep coming back and going, I'm going to listen to those guys again. And so I'm curious about, well, what is that? So I'd always love to hear from people about, it's just the way, I don't know, it's something about the way you relate, it's the subject matter, it's the whatever. There might be specific things, there might be general things. But then there's this other question, which is, what's in it? What's in it for you?
Well, I think we've outlined what's in it for us on one level, which is that we have, by recording our conversations, we hold ourselves to continuing our relationship in a way that was difficult because of COVID-19. But actually, it wasn't really. What COVID-19 did was it just shone a light on the fact that we didn't talk that often and we didn't see each other that often.
Yes. In fact, you might even say it was a friendship that was in name only. I don't mean I'm being a little harsh on that. It was, it wasn't like it was. What's the word? Founding? No, foundling. What's that word?
I don't know because I don't know what you mean.
Like it was. It wasn't. It wasn't like the friendship.
Do you mean foundering? Like it was
Foundering. Thank you. Like on rocks.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was thinking, do you mean like a foundling, like it was left by the side of the road? Have I ever told you that my great granddad was abandoned on the moors?
What?
Did I ever tell you that story?
No.
Okay, so
the moors.
Yeah, it's a totally true story. So
this sounds like it's a Kate Bush song.
It feels more like a Catherine Cookson novel, and that's probably because this is in the northeast of England, which is where
Who's Catherine Cookson?
Catherine Cookson was a romance novelist of some note. I think she wrote. She was definitely big in the 70s and 80s when I was a kid.
Like bodice ripper type.
I think
romance.
a little bit more working. No, more like I say no, not as in higher, but as in working girl made good. So it's usually a factory girl and stories about privation and overcoming big odds and that sort of stuff.
So it's like a metaphor for our podcast.
So much not. But my mum's family on her. Let me just try and work this out. Yeah, on her mum's side, they're Portuguese, and they're from Lisbon.
But not so many generations away. You couldn't get a European passport.
I think for my mum.
Oh, it'll be on the father's side, I guess.
No, it'll be fine. It's one generation away from my mum. So
yeah, and you missed by 2.
So I missed by 2. So that's no use to. It's no use to us.
No use to anyone.
Well, frankly, she doesn't care because she's got Portuguese residency anyway, so she's fine. But on her dad's side, it's difficult to know what her provenance is because was it her granddad? Yeah, her granddad was left on the moors, and he was found by a shepherd. So he
as a
baby, as an actual
months old,
days old.
Oh,
yeah.
So left to die, basically.
Left to die, and he was stuffed in a little crack in between the rocks on the moors, and he was found by a guy called William, and I've forgotten his surname. But when he was taken to the orphanage, he was given the name William as his first name because that was the name of the man who found him, and he was given the name Cragg as his surname because he was stuck in a crag.
He was found in a crag.
Yeah, so he was called William Cragg.
And were there many crags around?
I don't know the origin of all crags. I can just tell you that the crags in my family are so named because of the geological formation in which their bodies were stuffed. I have now gone down a cul-de-sac that I've forgotten.
I was asking you about what's in it for you.
Oh, foundering. That's it, because of rocks. And I got confused about the word foundling because it was like my great-granddad. No, foundering on the rocks. Our friendship was foundering on the rocks. Yeah.
Yes, I was saying that it wasn't doing that.
No, I think
but it also wasn't being fed.
No, it was ticking over. I think it was probably like most people's friendships.
Yes.
Or
most people's friendships who you don't really see them very often.
Yeah, I think that probably tells you everything you need to know about my friendships. That they're all just ticking over.
You say your friendships?
I think probably most of my friendships are in a ticking over pattern. I don't see people that often.
Are you okay with that?
Yes and no. I would like to be more available.
Yeah, like that. I thought you were going to say depends.
I'd like to be more available for people, and I think I can let down people quite easily by just sliding out. But I also know that a consequence of being an only child is that I have a limited capacity to deal with people.
Yes, you've talked about this before, for sure, on the podcast, yeah.
I get saturated with people quite quickly. I always have.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be, sometimes it can be minutes. And I know it's me, it's not them. I absolutely know that this is, what in the Dear John letters, exactly that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would like to be more present for people, and I struggle with that. But what's in it for me in this thing? I don't know. Can I ask? Because you said that you couldn't answer the question, so
You're going to ask me anyway.
Because I don't know the answer. What's in it for me?
Well, so there's one thing that's not. Let's be. I'm going to say honest, in the sense that it's not all of our friendship, right? There are things that we don't put in this podcast, as much as there's which that might not seem likely, because some of the things that we do include, probably some listeners would think, "What? I can't believe they're even talking about that. That's outrageous," for example. So there's a kind of there's a very, I think, carefully edited line. So that's one thing, which is the weird part, and it's in the sense that one of the things I like about it is that I feel like I'm improvising, even though sometimes we might have a theme or things we think we might talk about. That for the most part, I'm in relationship with you and listening and playing with words and working at this kind of performance of a conversation. And so that I think that's important, even though I feel relaxed and I don't feel like, okay, I'm getting ready to perform now. There's none of that. But I do think there's an aspect of that which I professionally interests me tremendously. But I also don't want to overstate that. That feels like it's humming in the background. But yes, there's something about digging into being friends that I feel has tremendous value for me. In part because I think friends are what we have. Yeah, I just think they are so fundamental to what it is to be human. I don't want to, maybe this is a bit over the top, but I've read so much about the nature of friendship in my time, and I just without them. So there's something about digging into the edges, the frustrations, the certainties, the loves, the pleasures, all of those things which seem to me to have tremendous and beautiful value. And there's something which is that I might hope that other people listening to that might get value from that. But it also might be that they might just get value in us talking about silly things. I'm also really ambitious. I just want to say that before we get
we'll come back to the answer. Yeah. I think there's something really true that what you said about that this is not the only element of our relationship. And I think it's not just that we edit out, or I edit out things that I think might incriminate us.
Yeah, bridge too far.
Yeah.
Incriminate.
But I guess open us up to that kind of cringe that we would experience listening back to it. I mean, I think we've both been on the edges of it on several occasions where
sure.
where we've gone, oh, that was close to the bone. But I think when it's close to the bone, they're our bones. But there's absolutely stuff that we talk about outside of these conversations that are close to other people's bones.
Yeah, I don't quite remember how it was something, because I was talking about, I tried to answer the question, which was about friendship and about, I blame you.
It's always wise to.
And so are we, I mean, I don't want to also say, it's really tricky, isn't it? Because, like to me, there's a very fine line. I think this is, and how do I say this? There's a very fine line between wanting to get good at something, right? And that's a very strong aspect of my personality. Like if I take up scuba diving, I want to get good at scuba diving. If I take up whatever, I want to get good at it. And so in a way, I feel a little bit like this. I want to get good at it. And I mean, there's a bigger question, which is, well, what is it that I'm getting good at? And the second thing is how, other than just continuing to do it. But even then I'd have to go, there needs to be some kind of awareness of what it is that I'm doing in order to get better at it, if you understand what I mean. The line between that and, it makes me feel so uncomfortable even talking about it in a way, which is, and ambition, which is, well, actually, I think, I think I'm proud of these conversations, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think I want more, as you said, I want more people to hear them. And then then there's part of which goes, the fearful part of myself, and I really recognize this as an artist, and it's so much about the kind of art I've ended up making and my the limitations of my work as an artist is being very uncomfortable with saying, I think we're doing something really good here. I'd like you to share it. And that statement it leaves a very, very funny feeling in my mouth. But I recognize it as an artist, as a choreographer, of making a virtue out of necessity, meaning I'm just going to make small scale work. And I think that's not because I always wanted to make small scale work, but I was afraid of actually risking making anything that wasn't small scale work. So yeah, I think there's something there which is a line which I think is quite a useful line. But then I think this question of, well, what is it that people are getting from these conversations? And I would love to, like you, I think I'd really love, really encourage people to write in and say, yeah, it's just this. There's something about this that you're doing that, or it's, or even it's just a particular episode where you go, this is when you really hit it. I'd really be interested in that. And I think that's just because and it's not because I feel like I'm floundering in the dark. It's more that I think there's real value in going, oh, wow, this is where I thought I was, and that's where you think I am. And that to me is just a really, it's useful.
Hi there, unfaithful listeners. This episode has focused a lot on us thinking about where we might go next, and also asking for you to maybe give us some feedback. I know, it's strange. But with that in mind, we thought it might just be nice to finish off today's episode with an excerpt from the start of our pilot. So please forgive the wonky audio quality. We bought microphones after we heard this and realised it's quite important to not sound like you're underwater. Anyway, hope you enjoy and see you soon.
Hey.
Did you just put on a particularly deep voice just then?
No, this is how I do my voice.
This is your.
This is my natural.
This is your. It's your regular voice.
Yeah, it's my regular voice. I once heard that if you cough, you hear what your natural sort of timbre, natural tone is, because your vocal cords sort of go to a neutral place when you cough.
Really?
Yeah. Well, that's what I heard. I don't know how true it is, because if I cough. I sound like a soprano.
But that was like a forced cough, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think you can just kind of go like that, and it kind of
like a forced expiration, basically.
Yeah. Not like a proper. There you see. Look, you kind of you're a nice light baritone, I'd say, edging towards the tenor.
I like the idea that I'm a nice light baritone /
edging
towards a tenor. My singing voice is a little bit like it's la, 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 la. No, it's a little bit lower than that.
Okay, no, I kind of meant like, can you sing, rather than what's it sound like? It was kind of like I've never heard you sing. No,
I've had to sing quite a lot in, as part of performances.
Right.
And I remember, the late 90s, and we were all trying to sing, and I kept getting put further and further into the background. But my confidence has grown since then, which of course doesn't mean that I can sing or not. It just means that my confidence has grown.
Yeah, you're just happier to stand at the front and just sound the way you sound.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Are you a singing household? As in, do you wander around singing in your home?
You probably don't know this about me, Lee Miller, but I'm a bit of a jingle aficionado.
Really?
Like I think I might have, I have the slight feeling that I often when I'm doing it, I'm sort of pretending to be you, actually. It's quite common for me to, Lil might say something and I'll go, it's so funny. They just come out all the time, jingles, and they're all pretty much the same tune, and they're a little bit shit.
Okay.
But I do them a lot.
So when you say that you do jingles, you write the jingles for the moment. You're not like kind of, because my mum goes into jingle land quite easily. So I know loads of jingles from the 50s.
Oh,
Someone's
like, oh,
mum
really?
doesn't know what someone's mum really ought to know. Someone's mum better get to know. Ariel washes whiter. How the fucking hell do I know that? It's like
That's so beautiful.
it's such an old jingle.
What kind of wash is whiter?
What kind of wash is whiter?
Yeah,
Or
you said some kind of
Ariel.
what in the jingle?
Washes
Ariel.
whiter. Ariel, the washing powder. So it's a jingle for Ariel from the olden times.
No, my jingles are more like, lunch today is gonna be cheese on toast. Lunch today, yeah, cheese on toast.
Oh, right. Okay, okay, lovely. So you make up songs, but they are short form songs.
Yes, I have to say I don't quite know what defines a jingle.
Well, no,
I certainly know that it's short.
Yeah, I think you've totally defined it. It's got a hook. It's catchy. You know, it's sort of. I guess it doesn't have a verse, chorus, verse structure. So it's just like it's just. Here's a couple of lines.
Exactly.
They end like this.
That's exactly right, and they're always a little bit. And Lil might say, "I think Simon, it's a little early for jingles." I mean, you know, breakfast time jingles are
Okay,
verboten.
that's interesting because Bob is woken with a song
Every morning.
every morning. I would say probably every. This is telling. Every morning that she gets breakfast in bed, which is nearly every morning. And and it's a song that I can't sing for you because I've only ever sung it to Bob.
Oh, it's the same song every day?
It's the same song.
No.
It's the same song. Yeah. It's the same song.
It's a found song. It's a song that exists. It's not a song you've made up.
Oh no, it's a song I made up. It's a song for
beautiful.
Bob. It's a song for Bob about breakfast. And sometimes the lyrics will change, but the tune is always the same. It starts the same way. But yeah, it will depend on what's being served. So there might
you mean part of the song is the menu?
Part of the song might be menu specific. Not always. Sometimes it's weather specific. Sometimes it's whether or not Jeffrey did a big poo specific. It's those kinds of. It's informational in a variety of ways.
Yeah, and Jeffrey's your 18-year-old son, right?
Jeffrey's my father-in-law.